Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study at Harvard University. My name is Meredith Quinn. I'm the Executive Director of the Fellowship Program here at Radcliffe. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce tonight's composer, Marta Gentilucci, and she in turn will introduce the other poets and artists who will be taking part in the performance this evening. Marta is the Riemann and Bechtel Fellow for Music at the Radcliffe Institute this year. She's a composer who works with voice and electronic sound, as well as what we might call traditional instruments. She began her musical career as a vocal artist, studying vocal performance as a soprano at a conservatory in Italy. Through her subsequent training in Europe and at Harvard in music composition, she has sustained her interest in voice, specifically in the ways that the human body resonates to music that it produces, and also how the body resonates to music that comes from without. You don't have to spend long with Marta before you realize that she is blessed with an extraordinary relationship to sound and an unusual perception of life's sonic dimensions. This is someone who delights in the sound of a chair squeaking in a classroom. And I'll take this moment to ask that you all please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices, because Marta will hear them, and the rest of us will too. Thank you. Marta's achievements as a composer have been recognized by many selective commissions, festivals, and composition residencies. Most recently, she was honored with an artistic residency at IRCAM, the Institute for Research and Coordination in Acoustics/Music, in Paris. While there, she researched the vocal techniques of the vibrato and tremolo, translating that research into electronic sound, and then redeploying those sounds in new compositions. At Radcliffe, Marta has been at work on a cycle of songs originally inspired by the 12th century South Asian mystic Akka Mahadevi. Building out from Mahadevi's biography, Marta has been exploring other women's experiences of leaving home, finding home, and redefining one's own place in the world. This has led her to collaborate with contemporary poets, 4 of whom will read their work as part of this evening's gathering. I think that you'll find where some of us hear words, Marta hears not only words, but also sounds. Sounds to be explored, remixed, and heard anew. Marta Gentilucci.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Meredith. As usual, it's a beautiful introduction. But before we begin, so of course I would like to thank some of the people who made me feel here at Harvard, at Radcliffe, so like at home, and who have allowed me to enrich my research with their support and contribution. So of course, the Radcliffe Institute and my fellows, and some of them I could really call now friends. And Meredith, Rebecca, Sharon, Jess, Caroline, thank you very much, and for being patient, and you know what I mean. So, and for always being there for me. Thank you very much to Evie, Shockley, so fellows, and who helped me in this adventure, and I will explain about it a little bit later. And thank you, Professor Stephen Clancy and Veronica Yergova from the Slavic department for helping me literally to decipher a Russian text. Thanks to Jasmine Parmley, my research partner, who with great passion dedicated herself to discover the poets and their work, and who wrote some of the comments in the concert note. Thanks to Alexis, the sound technician tonight, who like really literary magic, has set up all the necessary technical equipment for this event. Thanks to Talea Ensemble for being so passionate about music and for being here. Last but really not least, a very special thanks to Sean O'Donnell, Associate Director of the Academic Ventures, for his curiosity, for listening to my crazy ideas, for the trust, the vision, and the hard work he put into support my project and to make it possible that today 4 of the poets I'm working with could be here in person to read their work. So tonight the program will go as follows. I will say a few words, we will have the poetry reading, and then there will be a musical performance of my work. So let's begin. I would like to share with you a personal account of a journey that started years ago. And if I would have had give a subtitle, it could have been Roots, Belonging, and Identity. So my roots as a composer. As several of you know, I received formal training as a soprano before my composition studies. So the body and the perception of sound within the body and holding this an essential part of my musical imagination and perception. The singer perceives the sounds as an internal vibration. The body is the instrument that resonates through the hidden facial cavities. The mastery of sound is the ability to project this internal space vibration toward the external space. For many years, I've been working on compositions that have at their centers the voice and the listener's physical experience of the sound and resonances. So the listeners is the audience, the performers, as well as the composer. My work focuses explicitly and implicitly in the construction of multiple resonating spaces in the concert hall or within the sound itself, of the composition of different resonance quality in the form of pulsation, vibration, and rhythmical structures. My compositional interest relates particularly to the control of the vocal vibrato, to the production and the control of harmonically rich pulsating sounds, and to extended vocal techniques. Working with rhythmical elements, building and controlling transition from a pulsation to a rhythmical gesture and or larger rhythmical structure, allow me to define the components that trigger the perception of specific musical events, and that determine the trajectories of the acoustical material within the physical space of the performance. As a composer, my effort has been to objectify my internal sonic perception, my acoustical visions. There I am, and there is a sound I hear and I listen to. My effort has been then to unveil the interconnections between that sound and its realization, on the paper, by working with the musician, and also with this electronic medium. At this point of my personal path, looking at all the geopolitical and social events of the recent years, years of many changes and displacements of people all over the globe, I needed to re-examine, to question my own sense of belonging, my own roots as a person and as a composer, a female composer. Then for me, the most direct and intense way to navigate these social changes and these questions has been to start from and take on the simple and at the same time very complex fact that I am a woman and I am a composer. So all of this is very personal and at the same time is not just about me. At least this is what I hope. This is where the project that I'm currently working on comes into place, a canzoniere, a song cycle. The song cycle will encapsulate several elements of my musical research and my recent work on the voice. In particular, central to the work is the exploration of the feminine universe's many facets, its movements, changes, idiosyncrasies, potentialities, and failures. The focus is on the experience of the world seen and perceived by the female body. I would like to address the internal body's sound universes, which can take the verbalized form of joy, stillness, silence, pleasure, anger, shout, suffering. Then the rediscovery of the sound's physicality might have many declinations. It could merge into a morning song, a childbird screaming, a lullaby, a communal protest, or into an internal gabble. The sonic corpus arises from the female body and stories. In the past months, I've been finding and collecting material that tells stories of other women and their songs. What do women tell or sing when they live in a place, house, field, church, workplace, or a nation? When they are alone, or when they migrate somewhere else physically, intellectually, or just inwardly? This heterogeneous corpus of sounds and stories will be part of my composition, my source of inspiration, my musical roots. This is one of the reasons why I decided to work only with the living poet's text. Of course, the poems written in the past could have their validity and relevance to the present. However, I wanted to interact with the creators of the text. I wanted to be fully connected with their voices and with their eyes of the present time, even when it is uncomfortable, partially understood or digested. And that goes back to the need to reposition myself in relationship to the actual world situation, and by doing so, questioning in general, the possibility of belonging, having roots and home. When some event seems to be private, the loss of a mother, the birth of a child, a walk in nature, the images, the metaphors, the words chosen by the poets to encapsulate them are telling us something about the present and about the daily life. But there is something more about being in the present and working with the living poets. My music is deeply connected to the sound materiality and the sound of the words. Each time I write a piece that has a text, I need to say it over and over again to internalize the sounds of the words beyond their meaning and the metaphors of the words nets produce. The space that the words occupied in the mouth, how they resonate within the head cavities, the possibilities to project them in the outer space, all these elements are necessary. And they are essential steps for the musical composition. So part of the project has been, is, and will be to record the poets reading their own texts. In this way, I can create a sort of poetical sonic archive that I use to structure the music compositions in different ways and in different degrees. Each poet has a specific intonation, a unique voice color, and most importantly, a peculiar rhythm. Each poet has an heritage that is transmitted in the sound of the voice. The poet's interpretation will merge then with the composer, mine, sonic interpretation of the text. In this way, I imagine my work to run parallel to the original text rather than to intersect or change it. The music that I create does not describe or comment on the text, the stories of the poems. I am interested instead in the orality, in the musicality of the sounds of the words. Reading the text, studying their poetic universe, talking to them, I discover something that confirms my attraction to their poetry, the importance of orality. This is an implicit will to orally transmit their work that are often built with this in mind. However, there has been an exception to this norm, and this exception has often confirmed the rule. One of the texts that I chose is by Svetlana Alexeyevich, journalist, writer, Nobel Prize for Literature, and the text is in Russian. Thanks to the Slavic department and generosity of the Professor Stephen Clancy and Veronica Regova, that is here tonight, thank you, I was able to have both the transliteration of the Cyrillic and the recording of the text. Well, as you can imagine, I don't speak Russian. And I can really tell you that it has been extremely difficult, an absolute nightmare, to have only the Russian word pass through into my mouth and ears, so to learn them. This obstacle made me realize the importance of knowing a language, how necessary it is that I be able to pronounce it, hear it, segment it. All of these things are essential. These difficulties also reaffirmed, however, that the sound of the words is a pillar for my creativity. The very exciting thing is that the textual research in different languages will continue and will be parallel with the musical composition. Well, Radcliffe and its legacy of interdisciplinarity had an important role for the progression of my work, more than I could dream of coming here. I knew that I would have the luxury of an incredible library constellation on campus, people that could help me to narrow my research. But one specific encounter has been the turning point of my project. Another research fellow came into the game, so the poet Evie Shockley. The discussion we had, her generosity, opened new horizons. She introduced me to other American female poets who, she believed, could bring an important contribution to my project on roots and belonging. And they have, greatly. And two of them are here tonight. I was and am impressed by the generosity of all the poets I'm working with, open and ready to let me walk through their words and reinterpret their voices. I am thankful for their generosity in making their works accessible to me. Now about the structure of the project. So I will use this heterogeneous corpus of text to build an heterogeneous corpus of songs that I will present as independent set of pieces and that in the future might be performed all together as a complete song cycle. In that sense, it's like, if I may, like kind of Schubert Winterreise. One can sing one lead, a song like Gute Nacht or Abheben Flüsse, or can perform the whole cycle. However, I'm not looking for a musical unity in a technical sense, for example, a musical theme or a musical element that unify the whole. On the contrary, each piece is unique as the voice of each poet, and I will compose them following different compositional strategies. The song embodies the heterogeneity of the voices, the manifests of the female storytelling, and the piece will reflect this diversity. The first two compositions of the Canzoniere are two pieces co-commissioned by IRCAM, l'Institut de Recherche et Coordination Acoustique in Paris, and by die Neue Vokalsolisten, the Musik der Jahrhundert in Germany. The first piece is for soprano percussion and live electronics, written for the duo Sara Maria Sohn and Johannes Fischer. And the second is for vocal ensemble and is written for the Neue Vokalsolisten. These two pieces will be both premiered during the Manifeste Festival in Paris in 2020 and Eclat Festival in Stuttgart in 2021. For the first piece, I will use poems from Elisa Biagini's Corrente Alternata, Irène Gayraud, La mine espace de la traque, Shara McCallum's From the Book of Mothers, and Evie Shockley's Adrift. Also part of this work is the story A Solitary Voice, selected from the Svetlana Alexievich book Prayer for Chernobyl. The second piece for vocal ensemble, we have texts by Kate Greenstreet, Barbara Jean Rice, and Solmaz Sharif. And I'm honored, thrilled this evening you have the possibility to hear most of the poems by the poet's own voice. In a few moments, we will begin the performance part. So you will hear first the poets reading the poems and the poems that will be part of the Canzoniere. And two of the poets, unfortunately, could not be here, so I will be utilizing the recording that they have made. So tonight we have four poets reading in person and two virtual poets. As I have said, the orality of the poetry is essential, and I really wanted to create the opportunity to listen to them as I did months or years ago. So it doesn't matter if you don't understand Italian or French, but you will understand or perceive the sound of these languages, the rhythm and the color of the poet's voice. I would like that you listen to the music of the English text too. The poets reading from the balcony will create a continuum within the whole space. They will become like a whole resonant body, interwoven with the vocal counterpoint of the text. The very last poems you will hear are written and read by Elisa Biagini. This text also represents, in a way, one musical root. The first musical piece on the program tonight is Grat for soprano and clarinet. This piece is one of the first I wrote using Biagini's text. To tell the whole story, I met Elisa in Florence in 2007, I think, and we have a very long conversation. And a few months later, she sent me Mandelatment, Respiro di Mandola. So Mandelatment is a collection of fragment poems that later has become a whole section dedicated to porcelain in one of her books. And actually, this book is published also in English with the title Plant of Dreaming. These poems have accompanied me for so many years in very different projects for voice, instruments, choirs, electronic, and also for the short opera. What attracted me of her work is the fact that it is characterized by a fragmented but intense self-contained language. Throughout her fragments poet, words build a path, forming a continuous and twisting net. The apparent contradiction between the discontinuousness of the fragment and the continuity of the relationship between words has and had much to do with my compositional world. Grat as one of these fragments as a structural backbone, and it constitutes the seed of further musical ramification. These ramifications are not only an inspiring poetical image, but also a very concrete image of a real space and the possible developments of the sonic potential of words. The word sound does not spread out in a linear way, but expand in different directions, in disparate layers of the structure of the piece, of the space, of the projection of sound of the duo. A couple of words about the second piece tonight, Jumping, and the several title. So, the meaning behind the title is not important, but what is important is that this piece is the very first I wrote here at Harvard as a PhD student. So it also represents another musical route. And I would like to read the brief program note that accompanied the piece. This piece branches out into opposition and deviations. Its ramifications are harsh, discontinuous, and they expand in timbral fractures. The path is sometimes diverted by the strings and their continuous sounds. However, their opposition is not enough. The piece breaks through a rarefied space. So I hope that you will enjoy the performance, the poet, and thank you very much for being here.
You must walk this lonesome. Say hello to moon leads you into trees as thick as folk on Easter pews. Dark, but venture through. Amazing, was blind, but now fireflies, glittering, dangling from evergreens like Christmas oracles. Soon you meet the riverbank. Down by the riverside, water baptizes your feet. Moon bursts back in, low, yellow, swing low, sweet chariot of cheese shines on in the river. Cup hands and sip what never saw inside a peace be still. Mix in your tears. Moon distills distress like yours, so nobody knows the trouble it causes. Pull up a log and sit until your empty is full, your straight is wool, your death is Yule. Moonshine'll do that. Barter with you what you got for what you need. Draw from the river like it is well with my soul, O moon, you croon, and home you go.
Les rayons à l'orée du jour lacèrent le sous-bois de lumière. Ils acclament en silence l'étirement du corps, la peau exhalant sa nuit. Usée par le guet et l'affût et la traque, mes cils crissent au réveil. Je me coule dans le point d'eau, lave ma blessure à porter avec les armes, sur les chemins. La tête sous l'eau, j'entends peu les oiseaux qui décochent leurs cris d'alarme. Revenu là où m'attend le carquois vide. Une goutte élit sa trace jusqu'à ma cheville, le long. Je saisis à mes pieds un appôt, le garde à mon cou sur un lacet, et je passe la porte, sûr de l'instant où, entre les sarments et les pierres, s'ouvriraient les pistes.
Introvert. Deep in my own green element, I met a friend, my double, my dearest. Others pulled me out of the sea, placed me in this pan of water, added salt, and taught me to eat bread.
The smell of your skin fades. I forget your heft in my arms, your hand reaching up to cup my face as you nurse, curling into sleep. Daughter, is it your aging, or my own, I fear most? In fairy tales, the child is trapped within the refrain, motherless, motherless. In myth, the child is set adrift, left to water's blind grace, the current's whims. In some part of myself, I remain a child behind glass, watching the tall grass through which my mother drove, the splash of blue drawing near, waiting for the moment when she decided whose life to save, swerving to avoid plunging into the lake. If we are boats, how do we unmoor ourselves? How do we glide?
Social skills training. Studies suggest, "How may I help you, officer?" is the single most disarming thing to say and not "What's the problem?" Studies suggest it's best the help reply, "My pleasure," and not "No problem." Studies suggest it's best not to mention problem in front of power, even to say there is none. Gloria Steinem says women lose power as they age, and yet the loudest voice in my head is my mother. Studies show the mother we have in mind isn't the mother that exists. Mine says, "What the fuck are you crying for?" Studies show the baby monkey will pick the fake monkey with fake fur over the furless wire monkey with milk without contest. Studies show to negate a thing is to think it anyway. I'm not sad. I'm not sad. Studies recommend regular expressions of gratitude and internal check-ins. Studies define assertiveness as self-respect cut with deference. Enough, the wire mother says. History is a kind of study. History says we forgave the executioner. Before we mopped the blood, we asked, "Lord Judge, have I executed well?" Studies suggest yes. "What the fuck are you crying for, officer?" the wire mother teaches me to say. While studies suggest, Solmaz, have you thanked your executioner today?
A thinking woman sleeps with monsters. Una donna che pensa dorme con I mostri. Adrian Rich. I collected the instruments of life around me. Ho raccolto gli strumenti della vita intorno a me. Mary Shelley. È buio come dentro un cratere mentre sali, ombra dalla trachea, e alla soglia del labbro prendi peso. Cadi nel centro del foglio, ti apri. C'è il cratere di una voce che risale il calcagno, ma in questa oscurità non c'è distanza. L'attesa ha l'odore di un processo. Il tuo respiro tagliato, annodato e ricucito, la luce ti attraversa e tu ne bevi tutto l'ossigeno in un sorso. Questo tramonto ha il colore della lava che si fredda, la terra è impastata di ombre. Ti ascolto, hai il respiro pesante, rivivi le scosse del tuo tornare in vita, un orecchio alla parola e uno al silenzio.
Adrift. Stop time. Take time. Cut time. Make time. Slippery fabric we grasp at, tongue, lick, try to trick into shape. Cocoon we fly, refashioned from, past promised landfall, spit and soul image, unfitting.
J'ai marché dans des couloirs sombres, sur des sentiers recouverts. Les feuilles noires étouffaient la terre, je n'entendais plus le bruit de mes pas. Immobile, je guette le mouvement des feuilles. Le corps ramassé comme avant de bondir, j'occupe la bordure du chemin, garde en mémoire le point d'eau, la goutte, longtemps. Vient sur moi le poil vivant des fauves, viennent des nuits, des craquements, des calmes. Alors, un matin, la forêt repousse ses lisières, élargit l'espace. J'aperçois, entre les troncs d'un jardin infini, un geste lumineux qui m'arme, me désarme.
Theory of the qualities of seeing. A point on the map, what is in us already. Horizon, motel, what falls from the sky. Mountain, maple leaf, world without end. Broken dishes, house and tree, acorn, moon and stars. What am I carrying? What was I running from? What is the same the world over? What falls from the sky? I understood certain words. The word for why, the word for always, the word for speak. That the truth means what is going to happen, or what I must do. We drink it down, to death. He put the blanket on my head. He said, sometimes I think you just want to disappear.
Dark Mother, you appear to me as mad, mistress of blood, death, and the death of death. You surface from the Ganges, pregnant, stoop to give birth on shore, then devour your child. Bearer of destruction, goddess of time and change. Kali, how can I bring myself to accept your universe? Dear Mother, dear M, other, dear other, my dear other.
America. I had to. I learned it. It was if. If was nice. I said, sure, one more thing. Eat, it said. It felt good. I was dead. I learned it. I had to.
Es ist alles anders, als du es dir denkst, als ich es mir denke. Eppure sotto la pelle c'è luce intermittente, s'attiva la tua unghia consonante al dito allungato della voce. Piena è la borsa dell'occhio di monete e di tempo. La tasca è così aperta in queste ore che sento il tintinnare. Am Abschiedsgrad mi sbuccio il respirare, il fiato rammendato col filo più scuro d'abbandono.
Es. Es ist. Es. Es. Es ist. Alles es. Es ist anders es. Als du es mir denkt, es ist, als ich es mir denkt. E poi sotto le pelle ci luce di tende consonante. Sativa
Thank you.